North Mississippi storm chasers there. And you know, they're looking at some of the other cameras with some impressive shots as well. Let me go wide here and double check that. Give me a moment. Boy, there are some other rough looks on this. Let's go over there to Cleveland for a moment. Clarksdale, slide south, Shelby. Yeah, right over top of Cleveland. Looks like we have a storm pretty much right to the east of town there. I'll try to get out of the way. That one looks pretty impressive. These are going to be hail-producing storms wherever they are today. We're right in the midst of the tower, so we'll have to wait for that one to try to emerge from that. But some low-hanging stuff. Let's get the radar over there to take a look, and we'll go ahead and clear everything off of Mama Justice Doppler for a moment and look at that one, because that one's, again, in the Delta here. We don't have great radar coverage from time to time, but let's go back. We'll be looking from a long distance away. This was all the way there from Monroe County. Do kind of a radar tour here from Jackson, from the Memphis airport. We're outside of the range there, and then the regular Memphis Weather Service radar. So probably best from Monroe County. So that's probably at least a little bit of heavy precipitation there. Let's do what we call a cross section on it. We'll go 3D. Do I have it just outside the area? I have that just outside the area. Let's go ahead and expand that box. Hold on. There we go. And that should give us a better look at that. Let's go ahead and do a slice. We'll sometimes call this RHI, or cross section. Well, we're looking a ways up. It's obviously still well above the surface. So this would be 10,000 feet. So this is not nearly as high with some of that hail as what some of the other storms are. We'll get a motion on it and a track on it. But considering all the big hail we have out of that other thunderstorm, I think we'll concentrate a little bit more on that one here for a moment after we get past this. But we'll do want to get you kind of a storm track on that one there. Put that into motion. We'll do a 1 hour loop. Not really moving very fast. In fact, I'd be overdoing it to say 30 miles per hour that we had on the other thunderstorm. So we'll track this towards Schlater, we'll say. We'll go 25 miles per hour there. We show Ruleville at about 520, Cottondale at 524. Now, if that were to kind of pull a little bit more back toward the south, which is entirely possible, we'll adjust that there. We'll take that out. We'll say about 25 miles to go the whole hour there. And so McNutt, we show about 548 for you, Schlater at 552, Rixwood at 554, Shell Mound at 603, 607 Wildwood, and Wakeland at 613. This is Doppler radar indicated hail, but I think mostly really see if it really picks up to that next level. You can clearly see there's a difference in class, though, between that storm there. We have one near Winona getting a little bit stronger, so we'll take a look at that one here in a moment. And then our big hail down here in our severe. We're going to hit the severe thunderstorm warning, then we're going to go hit the hail on the other storm that we have up there toward Winona. So here's kind of our latest scan. We'll go 3D. That one still is a pretty impressive little storm down here. I'm going to look out of the corner of my eye on our Ackerman camera. Yeah, still showing good, solid structure on this storm. We'll leave it on the latest scan. And you know, the reason we're kind of looking at this 3D look here is because when we cut it down, all of this is just big hail, this kind of purpley black stuff that we show high up in the sky. Compare what we have on this versus every other storm we have out there. Number one, you're not going to see it on any of the other thunderstorms, right? Nothing that even resembles it. So that helps us to kind of bullseye in on this one being a strong storm that could produce some big hail. And that black you see on the lowest scans, that is that hail falling out of this near McCool, back up there to west of Bowie's Chapel. So this is a rotating storm, but sometimes rotation means tornadoes. And in this case, rotation just means big hail. So near Mississippi Highway 12 and McCool there is where this is likely dropping that really big hail right now along 407 and 12. So I'll do kind of a track like this, what we call kind of a swath track sometimes. I have to go fairly wide apparently to get 25 miles an hour. And so obviously now in McCool, within the next couple of minutes here in the Bowie's Chapel, Rome at 541 there, Ford at 544, and Knox Pater at 612. Doppler radar indicated large hail out of this, and probably some wind damage potential as well. Just kind of looking here through the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, our chat. Don't really have a whole lot of reports coming in out of this as well. But that report, that most likely is going to end up coming from you anyway. So I'm kind of looking back here through our discussion back and forth. So to Mingo County, you're going to probably be out of any of this county. I'd say same thing. Obviously, we're going to be watching this for you. But the biggest of this hail right now really falling at this moment here near McCool. Perhaps this is going to go through a bit of a collapsing phase. I still show some, it might be difficult to even see. I'm going to see if I can turn off where it says this product, turn off the lower level stuff. So maybe you can just kind of see that right there, that little blip of something up there and that little blip of something there. Those are both hail that's still kind of developing up there more effectively up in the sky. Let me see if I can, yeah, put all the rest of it back on. Yep, that's kind of the next batch of hail. So it's dropping one big batch of hail now. It's got another batch of hail that's kind of developing up there that it'll be dropping. That would be the one that I'd be thinking more toward Kerr if it kind of continues there. So severe thunderstorm warning continues for you in Attala, for Choctaw, and Winston counties until 6:15 p.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. We're a 24/7 weather streaming service based out of the Tupelo, Mississippi area. And on Mama Justice Doppler radar here, we're detecting some large hail that is going to be moving through a few locations. As I mentioned, Attala, Winston, and Choctaw counties, all kind of the epicenter for where that is at this moment. We're looking 3D here, showing the hail aloft within the thunderstorms. But luckily, we have a couple other important hail tools that we can use. Our hail swath, provided by True Shield Roofing, shows kind of the zone where we've had some of that biggest hail. The purple you see behind it here, those are locations where it's probable that we've had some damaging hail out of this. This helps us to kind of look at damaging hail potential. And so kind of that area where the darkest purple is where we're most likely to have seen some of that. I'm going to adjust our track and give me a moment while I change something here to hopefully make our storm tracks more effective. On the cone track, we're going to take this to 60 minutes so that we can drag that out a little farther. Okay, and so let's go ahead and do just that. So about 25 miles per hour, if it kind of continues at this angle, eventually Louisville, you are in the path. I mean, you can pretty clearly see here the track the storm has taken to this point, right? From northwest to southeast. Speed has not been fast, but I can actually use this to kind of go back and say where it's laid down hail over the last hour, give us an idea on speed, and that says about 23 miles. So this is just absolutely creeping toward the south and east. Let's see if there's a way. Is there a way to just clear just an individual one? Nope, we got to clear it all. Farther south, we've had this one south of Knox Pater that had looked heavier at times. Bringing it back into the Jackson radar site. You'll notice, though, most of this is the lighter pink, which is in that possible as opposed to probable category. No severe thunderstorm warning for these locations here, though a little bit of hail probably could be falling out of that as well. So we'll track that again. Similar speed, about 25 miles per hour south and east. And that gets it to the cab there at 618 North Bend, 625 Bogue Chitto at 525 North Bend, 536 there Bogue Chitto, Bluff Springs at 555, Bloomfield at 604, and Mount Nebo at 616. Sliding back behind, I mean, clearly you can see, well, there are two storms here. There's one of these that's much more impressive. Sometimes I'll call this a front feeder, where if we were looking at a storm like this that's rotating, and then the atmosphere was working the right way where it was going this way, we might be talking about this producing a tornado. But what this is doing is feeding right into the instability. It's kind of going the wrong direction. And so that a lot of times when that happens, you end up with hail and wind producers, primarily hail producers, though, in that scenario. And then up here, let's look at this one near Winona. Obviously we were looking at a thunderstorm up here earlier on near the Fox community. We're going to go with the same angle here until it proves us otherwise. Again, this is at this point, non-severe thunderstorm, and we'll check out our camera there in Winona looking toward. Again, appreciate our partners at the North Mississippi Storm Chasers for working with us on this camera network here across North Mississippi. Our Winona camera, we're kind of looking at this here, and we're looking we're looking the wrong way. Let's go ahead and flip this around toward the east. The problem with looking east, I think we look back into the tower. So they're trying to catch another shot on this. But this will go and swing this back around, I think, here in just a moment. Actually, I think they mentioned they lost control of this camera, now that I think about it. The problem with these being on towers is sometimes they take lightning strikes. Yeah, I see James texting me. I appreciate that. James with North Mississippi Storm Chasers. Hardest working man in weather in Mississippi. Always on top of it. Appreciate that, James. So that's the reason we're looking the other direction on that there. I saw them saying that, and then I completely forgot about it myself. But looking back towards some additional thunderstorms west of that location, I wonder, we might be able to get a shot there from Mabin of this. Give me a moment to make sure Mabin is facing the right direction. Okay, and we are looking we're looking kind of west northwest-ish. Let's try point and zoom. I've never tried point and zoom on this before, but supposedly, okay. It will zoom down when it does that, but that might mean if we point it up that we'll be looking exactly the right direction. Learn something new on this. Rather learn something new on a day like today as opposed to a tornado sort of day, but that's looking there back toward the west and southwest, toward where that storm is kind of the heaviest. And looking a long distance away there at Gray. Just shot from that distance away. Perhaps we could have a decent shot from our Adeton camera, which is sometimes we'll call it Starkville or West Starkville, because it's on the west side there. Still looking from a pretty decent distance away on that as well. But lots of the dark bluish sort of colors, and we're looking kind of the right way toward the Winona storm. If I kind of pan it this direction, we'll kind of look toward the storm there in southern, that's exited southern Montgomery County and Attala County. This is kind of a different way to look at that. You can kind of see the whole batch of the storm there. I clicked off of this, and it's my bad. Boy, I clicked the back button, and it just did its own thing when it did that. So let's pan that back up. Looks like the bug's enjoying this one as well today. But so this kind of gives us a shot of the whole storm there from a longer distance away. Again, a fairly compact storm, but a lot of hail. That's what that portion is there, kind of falling. We're looking down there toward that storm in Attala County, so looking a pretty good distance away from that, whereas we have a much closer shot at that same thunderstorm there from Choctaw County. And this is going to be the exact same angle between both of these there, looking at that. And so in Ackerman, the hail is to your south, so that fuzziness you see there shows you it's not that far south. Likely dropping some decent hail there, but the concentration on this is going to be down there in Attala, moving into Winston County. So this is that first storm that we're looking up north, and this one, the hail potential might be coming down as we looked a little bit ago 3D on it, and hopefully that's the case. Maybe unwinding just a little bit. So I'm going to track kind of the whole hail core on this. Yeah, hail potential coming down a little bit more on this here, with our instantaneous hail not quite as large as it was just a little bit ago. Near Bowie's Chapel and Kerr, where we show it the strongest. So I'm going to use our peak threat here to kind of track it most effectively. So again, near the Kerr community at 529, this is Doppler radar indicated hail that could be in excess of 1 inch in size. At times in the past, it's looked like it could be up in excess of 1.5 inches. And I think, again, that hail size probably coming down on it, probably dropping its biggest hail in the last 10 minutes or so, maybe still dropping some of that big hail there. I think 2 inches probably overestimating maybe just a little bit, but it has probably dropped that at points in the fairly recent past versus where we're at now here. But large hail potential remains one of the main impacts on any of these thunderstorms today. We'll go back to 3D. I'm going to cut this 3D, the way we like to do that to get an idea on how much it's holding up there, because you get the hail that's detected, getting down the surface, and you get the hail it's holding aloft, and there's your difference, right? So, and that's the thing, that Kilmichael storm holding a little bit more hail up now than it was before there. That one getting a little closer to where it could be dealing with maybe inch-size hail. So we'll come back up to that one in a moment. But if we go back here, make this 1 minute data. We'll go back a few minutes, look at your comparison, right? So this is when we had, for sure, probably golf ball size hail aloft in it, and then it falls there close to McCool, and most of that biggest hail has fallen out of it. I would say now it's a struggle that we would be even producing 1 inch hail up there in the clouds. I think it has dropped its biggest hail already. So sometimes when one of these unwinds, especially on kind of a marginal day like this, it drops its big hail and then it kind of falls apart. So that would be our hope with this, that perhaps it's dropped its biggest hail and now is in the process of falling apart. Let me go and get a better track on that there. Still some wind and lightning, certainly, but we'll go 25 miles per hour there. So there's some times as that moves toward the south and east. Large hail potential on that. Checking with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. They've had some visuals on these from time to time, but it does not look like any real issues that they have seen on it. I'm checking our chat with you guys behind the scenes here. And actually, I'll bring in Caleb here for a moment because he's been working behind the scenes as well. Caleb, have you been seeing anything in that chat with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers on this?
No, I was just finishing up the forecast. I was actually coming to see if there's been any pictures submitted, and we don't have any reports at this moment. So technically good thing, because hopefully that means there's not too much report and people are staying inside, so not looking for it, but trying to keep my eyes out on the chat and also any reports coming in.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut there. Been kind of watching your reports on what you have sent in. Looks like, for me, some of the most recent stuff has been some sunsets. But I also think I need to log back into those. So I'm going to have to log mine back in. So if you see anything, go ahead.
I will say I did get this video sent in by a friend out there in the French Camp region. I posted on my Facebook, so we can try to screen mirror it on the monitor behind me. It's a video of some hail dropping outside of French Camp, so I have that coming in.
Oh yeah, well, we definitely need to get that in. If you want to get that, go ahead and you can bring that up there and just wave me on, and we'll come back to you here in just a second.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, there at our downtown Tupelo studios for Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Current time is 5:29 on this Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. For the folks out here in Choctaw, Attala, and Winston counties, we have a severe thunderstorm warning until 6:15. A lot of heavy rainfall with this. Just looking at the lightning, you can tell that this is starting to weaken a little bit more. I'm going to change our lightning rather than the lines back to the little zigzags. I think that shows the clustering of lightning a little better. And if I just walk this back, say about an hour ago, before this really ratcheted up, a decent amount of lightning. We kind of reached the peak here within the last half hour. There's a lot more lightning, right? Right when it was out here east of Shady Grove near McCool, just even 15 minutes ago, tons of lightning. We still show quite a bit of lightning, and it's spreading out a little bit more as the sun winds. But this is probably, with every passing minute, less likely to be producing large hail and having already dropped its biggest hail out of it. One of the ways we do that is using our True Shield hail swath, and I'll pull those lightning strikes back off of that here for a moment so that you can see those. But that darkest purple you see there is where we had probable damaging hail out of this as it moved toward the south and east there. So the strongest portion of this, I would say, is now stretching from just north of Kerr to near Rome to Rural Hill, just northwest of Mississippi Highway 14. We'll kind of track it based on sort of where we have this here, and moving southeast with a speed at around 25 miles per hour. And we're going to look at some other thunderstorms after this storm track here but this kind of unwinding just a little bit, likely producing some hail. But I think the likelihood of this producing that monster hail that we probably had a little bit ago, 1.5 inches or greater in size, monster hail is probably overstating it, but golf ball size hail potentially out of this, that becomes less and less likely there. Looking behind the scenes, watching from Bald Hill, appreciate y'all there from watching us down there. But yeah, certainly some heavy rainfall, some lightning with this, and then still could have some gusty winds and perhaps some smaller hail, but I think that hail size continues to kind of diminish somewhat. Let's go wide here for a moment, pop that information off. I would say just kind of generally looking at this, first off, as I switch this back to our radar site out of Monroe County, we do have a few isolated thunderstorms up here in the northern part of the state. We have not really touched on those, so we'll come up there for a moment. Then we're going to come to Montgomery County, where we could have one that's a little bit stronger, near Barton, Byhalia, Collierville, Victoria. Check our hail potential out of this. Don't have much on the farther shot all the way from Monroe County, looking from the Memphis radar. Maybe a little bit of hail near the Barton community there. Let's give you a lapse over the course of the last hour on this. I'm probably not going to show it there. The last hour, it's just kind of started developing the last 30 minutes or so. Not a lot of movement on those. A storm track wouldn't do us much good. I would say that might be expanding up here closer along 72 toward Rossville. I mean, if this is moving 5 or 6 miles per hour, it's probably overdoing it just a little bit. But that's where this one, again, maybe some hail on the north side of that near Collierville. KC we show at 542, Tasca at 552, Rossville Junction 613, 617, Mount Pleasant. Doppler radar indicated heavy rainfall, lightning on that, starting to pick up a little bit more, but non-severe. Let's come down to Montgomery County. Montgomery County, and we're going to look at this from a couple spots, looking all the way there from the Memphis area near Minerva, south of Minerva. This one, we get a loop on this. I want to see actually from the Memphis radar. I want to make sure this is moving kind of the same direction. This is kind of moving almost directly east in the last little bit. It dropped a decent amount of hail, probably just north of Hendricks, north of US 82 in the last couple of minutes. We'll look at this from a few different sites. From there, we're going to go down to Jackson, which is also still too far away, and then we go to the radar in Monroe County. And there's some of that big hail falling out of this. I think still, when I say big hail, it could be 1 inch in size. So that'd be its biggest hail. Looking 3D on this, I don't know if it quite had enough to pull that off. Just not sure. It might have just been really, really heavy rainfall or some rain-coated small hail out of that. Either way, this one's not as impressive as that storm down south was. So it kind of slicing this here. I don't know that it still has a lot of that big hail up in it, or whatever its big hail is up in it. There's a little bit of that still in the north part there, near Lodi. And that would be, let's see the road there. That'd be Salem Road, where it's moving with that. So let's go east. This probably also is not moving quite the 25 miles per hour some of those other storms were. So let's go, say about, we can go 20 miles per hour. So Pelez we show at 605, 608 there, Tom Nolan. Wood Springs at 612 and 630. I don't know that this holds together all the way there to 630 and Bywai, but that's where it would be for you. I'm going to bring on our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, who is got a shot there of what looks like some hail from down where, I guess this would be near the French Camp area, right?
Yes, no, this would be exactly near the French Camp area. My friend sent this in earlier this evening as that kind of hail core moved on through. It was a video as her parents were kind of driving through the community, just wanted to pull over, kind of sit still as it moved on through. Before I press play, this was taken inside a car, so you'll have some water droplets try to mess with some images, but I mean, you can clearly see some of that hail kind of landing on the ground here. And kind of seeing some off in the distance as well. But just wanted to press play on this, just showcasing that hail continuing to fall. You can see some of those bigger pieces and just kind of continue to hit the car, especially if you could hear the sound. But some of that just kind of out in the grass, seeing those white stones. So not a good visual on kind of the size of it, but they did exactly everything right and not wanting to go outside, grab a piece of it, giving us that report. So we definitely don't need that. Thank you guys for staying inside y'all's car, kind of pulling off, letting it move on out of the area. But you can still see some of those impressive hailstones just kind of continuing to land on the grass kind of outside as that core continued to fall pretty much just outside the French Camp community. So that's been the only report I've gotten so far, Matt, of some hail being reported. So I'll make sure to keep my eyes on anything else that moves on through. The only other thing that I've seen kind of within Barron of people sending in pictures was actually this impressive shot of a rainbow. This was out there in Grenada, and I think it may have been on our Grenada Skycam. I don't know if it'll still be there. There you go. You already get another picture of it. So beautiful rainbow out there.
Yeah, another one. Yeah, so some pretty good rainbow shots out there as well. Nice to see
Exactly.
those over the lake.
Yeah.
You don't always see those this time of day, but you have to have the sun at the right angle and
hmm
enough clearing between storms. And a pretty good shot there from Grenada Lake. Man, makes you want to be
Yeah.
on the lake today. I mean, not right now, not with the storms there, but you get the point.
And vivid colors too. I mean, you can see almost each individual one in that rainbow.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's our meteorologist Caleb Elblut there, back in our studios. Appreciate that. Bring up our chat with you guys here behind the scenes. About an inch and a quarter of rain from the storm in Atala County, according to Clyde Shop 78. There was hail by the trace. How large that hail is, Clyde, would certainly help us out a lot. Clyde, watching us on YouTube, you can see by that little red logo that you see, little red icon next to me there. Appreciate y'all in Bald Hill. In Columbus, checking in from Columbus on Mother's Day. Columbus, you're in the good for this right now. There is no truth to the idea that I am Father Nature at this point in time, but we're certainly talking about Mother Nature on Father's Day and the potential for severe weather and tornadoes. No tornado threat. Let's be clear about that. But severe thunderstorms, certainly a possibility there. And obviously, we do continue to have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in place for locations in Winston and Atala counties. Coming in a little closer on that, I don't think that this is producing severe hail or anything like that anymore. The way in which, if this were producing severe weather, it would produce it be in the form of wind and perhaps some lightning. Caleb will be looking at some power outages, looking at the local electric cooperatives here in a couple of minutes to kind of check some of those out. We'll check local electric cooperatives, kind of check out their maps. See what's going on. But I'd say the hail potential, you can see this kind of looking at our True Shield hail tracker here. That's what this is, our hail threat track. Going back to where the actual rainfall of the storm is. Notice I put my hand like kind of right about here. And we'll go back over here and we'll look at the hail. Notice the hail doesn't really cross that line. And yet we show that the heaviest part of the storm is ahead. So I think this has probably dropped its largest hail out of it in the last few minutes. Really probably about 15, 20 minutes ago, probably dropped its largest hail. And I'm not convinced it still has the ability to produce damaging hail at this point. I'm honestly not 100% sure it even has hail in it at this time. We'll use our camera there in Ackerman to look back into this. This has been one of the cameras we've been able to use it pretty effectively, kind of looking back into some of these storms. And again, I'm going to have to probably pan this a little bit back to the left to continue to have a good angle on this. Left to be panned a little more south because now it's gone a little more south of Ackerman. Again, we're just kind of looking back through the hail on the north side there. Choctaw County, one of those locations under that severe thunderstorm warning until 6:15, the southern part of the county. But I would say that the worst of this is probably out of Choctaw County at this point in time. 73 degrees there. Showed fairly high dew point at 73 at the nearest reporting station. But reporter, according to the North Mississippi Storm Chasers there, of a viewer that did have up to golf ball size hail in McCool a little bit ago. So that would verify this warning where we said a little earlier on, golf ball size hail possible out of it. That would be kind of what they came back with that. So let's go and show you again on that True Shield hail track. We talked about that up here in McCool where that large hail was moving right toward town. So near the McCool area, golf ball size hail reported out of this when that storm was overhead. Now let's compare what that looks like then versus what it looks like now. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is to go 3D on this and kind of show you how things changed over time. So this big red blob, that's all the heavy precipitation up within the thunderstorm itself. As I kind of back it up here, that big red blob got a bit taller. And if I cut out all of the lighter rain, and this is still heavy rain, but we cut it back to just this. This is that big hail depicted up in the thunderstorm, heavy rainfall and hail that we had way up in there. We're going back to 511 here. We've mentioned McCool. We had that golf ball size hail report. As we go forward a little bit, see how all that just collapsed right out. That was likely that big hail falling out of it. And then, boom, by that point, it's used up all its hail. With that in mind, if that's what it took to produce golf ball size hail today, we look here at the radar, which doesn't always like it when I go 3D like this. There's a lot less there. Now, hold on a second. Well, it looks like that storm south of Nanawai has gotten a little more impressive as well. So let's dig into this one here in north of Bogachito near the Coy area. It's not as impressive as that other storm, but this is big enough that's probably some hail with it. We had some hail down here last week, so I think folks wouldn't like to see any more of that. Let's track this about 25 miles per hour, and again, that might be just a smidgen fast. So Bluff Springs about 604 for you. We'll look at that tracking there closer to Bloomfield at 612. DeKalb there at 626, 636. We're looking for Kipling Carter at about a 640. This is Doppler radar indicated hail of some size. Let's go back to our True Shield hail swath. It's been pretty consistent on producing that hail. It also has a slightly different track on the specific hail core from what I had. So let's go ahead and adjust that track a little bit more like that. There we go. Let's go 30 miles. And it might not hold on this whole time here, but that shows you Linville. Probably some hail on this 557 for you as it moves kind of your direction. There likely going to be, again, no tornadoes on this today. I probably need to make sure that we say that very clearly and loudly and shout that from the rooftops. No tornadoes on what we're seeing here today. Hail would be the main impact if we were going to see something. That would be the most possible this. Here behind the scenes, North Mississippi Storm Chasers again, appreciate that. Let's see here. North Mississippi Storm Chasers commenting that my tie looks like, with the paisleys on it, looks more like the rotating storms than the radar does today, which is a fair statement, I would say. But if this is going to produce hail, this is actually probably the most likely storm to produce some severe hail at this point. As you can see, the folks up here at the National Weather Service have allowed the warning to expire up here, canceled early, I should say, for Winston and Choctaw counties because that threat has passed. Let's look at the rest of these storms here. Dime-size hail in Noxapater a short time ago, reported by James with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers there. Again, you can share your reports with them and with us, and of course in our chat. That's what we're watching and beside me here. If you do have those storm reports, go ahead and send those in the chat. And we appreciate everyone for doing that there. I'm going to check in with our meteorologist, Caleb Bettelblut. He's been looking at some of the power outages and other sorts of information. Caleb, what are you seeing as of 5:43?
Yes, no, I'm definitely looking at some power outages, and we can tell exactly where that hail core kind of moved on through here in North Mississippi. The county that's been most affected right now is Carroll County with 161 customers out. And it's pretty much just along kind of almost the three corners of these counties. So between Carroll, Montgomery, and Atala is where we're seeing those outages, all reported by Entergy. So I wanted to pull that up for you guys, just showcase what region and kind of where it is. And you can see this huge amount of kind of just streets kind of out of power. And this is kind of that in between of all three of those counties that we just highlighted. And of course, that blue triangle shows 251 customers or more affected by these power outages. So wanted to zoom in here to kind of showcase what I'm talking about. You can see those dotted kind of dashed lines moving on through. That's all three counties. So you have Montgomery right here, Atala, and then up towards Carroll right there. But that blue triangle showcasing all those streets just kind of out of power if you're along those county lines. We were talking about Vaden a lot earlier as that hail core kind of just started as it crossed over I-55, kind of just east of the Vaden community. You can see that orange kind of octagon right there, or actually that's a hexagon, showcasing 51 to 250 customers without power kind of within those streets. So that's Magnolia Street onto Cedar Street, Hurst Street, Herring Street, kind of within the Vaden community. And I mean, of course, still just a huge amount of people out of power here. So we can take a look at that. That's Atala Road, 3122, 3203, 3204, 3122. So a lot of people kind of reporting those power outages. You can go a little bit further east as well, seeing that purple little square kind of diamond pop on up as well, showcasing those power outages as well. This is just off of Highway 12 onto Rocky Port Road, Liberty Hill Road, and Atala Road 3122. So Matt, right now, those are all the power outages I'm seeing at this moment. You can definitely tell where that impressive hail core kind of moved on through, dropped all that hail and those damaging winds as well. Those were the two threats we kind of kept mentioning a bunch leading up to today as our two, I guess, elevated threats compared to the lack thereof of that tornadic threat. So still kind of keeping a visual on those outages, but thankfully only kind of contained towards those three right now, but also that's kind of where our most impressive storm has been at this hour as we're getting closer towards 6 o'clock time frame. But for those in Carroll, Montgomery, and Atala, we've been talking about you a lot so far on this live stream as that severe thunderstorm warning kind of encompassed most of your area, continues to move on out, still showcasing all those customers. So again, to talk about kind of who else has been affected, it's 161 out there in Carroll County. Again, all of those are tracked by Entergy. I'm kind of covering that up right here on the left side of your screen. So there are just over 1,000 customers tracked within that county and already almost to 200. So still impressive. I think the percentage is around 13%. So still pretty significant out there. Then Montgomery, 70 customers out of power, still all covered by Entergy. And then even into Atala County as well, 250. So as of right now, those are the major power outages within our region. You can kind of see further down south towards Jefferson County, over 1,000 customers are out of power as well. So haven't quite pulled up. Let's see who covers them. Oh, it's also Entergy as well. So I'll have to kind of see what that looks like. But for our region here in North Mississippi, Matt, for everybody that we cover within our viewing area, Carroll, Montgomery, and Atala continue to be the counties most affected so far.
Okay, we're going to take a brief break and be back with more coverage as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
You don't become part of a place by hanging a sign. You earn your place by showing up. Not just when it's easy, when it's everything. This isn't healthcare from a distance. North Mississippi Health Services is nationally recognized care that runs generations deep.
This house is under attack by so many pests. The family says that there's absolutely no hope. Bundleman, is there anything you can do to save this family?
Don't worry, miss. I've got you covered. Thanks to Wayne's and Viro Pest Bundles.
I love you.
For families who want it all, stay protected with Wayne's Pest Control.
It's by design we call ourselves Traceway Retirement Community, because community is what you have here. We all need it, deserve it, embrace it, where our community becomes your family. Traceway Retirement Community.
Welcome back. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Loppon. You're watching Mississippi Live. We are tracking some showers and thunderstorms that are strong and previously been severe for locations south of US 82 in particular. I would say that it remains possible that we could still have some heavier thunderstorms move through the northern part of the state. But one of the things I want to be crystal clear about is we do not anticipate tornadoes tonight. Let me say that again. We do not anticipate tornadoes tonight. Our risk for severe weather, again, as we showed you at midday today, primarily for locations back toward the south and west. We've kind of had some of these reports just on the northern edge of that there. Hail remains one of our most likely scenarios we talked about earlier today with our True Shield hail risk graphic. And if you do have large hail pictures to share with us, use the Mississippi Live Weather app to send that in. Largest hail picture gets a $100 gift card from True Shield Roofing, as long as that's up to 1 inch in size. Hoping that wasn't the case. But, you know, try to make a bad day a little less bad. So send in those pictures if that's something that you have to report there. And when we look again at the wind risk, again, south and west, the most likely spots to see those. Locations such as Greenville, Cleveland, Greenwood. But this is maybe the biggest headline. Again, tornado risk for those folks. And I know there's some people, this is the only concern that you have, only thing we obviously don't want to deal with. No tornado risk for our area with this today. You got to go all the way back to Abilene, Texas to have even that level 2 risk that direction. So again, while we have some thunderstorms, we do not have anything that will produce tornadoes for our area. And you can tell by the lightning, as Caleb was talking about, that does have some power outage issues with some of these storms. But share your pictures with us using the Mississippi Live Weather app, probably the easiest way that you can do that. As of now, 5:50 on this Sunday, we'll bring it back into Mama Justice Doppler radar. We're kind of on the composite mode just to kind of see the overall picture here to have an idea of what is happening, what has happening, and how it kind of fits into the overall scenario. Looks like we have had a couple of brief tornado reports up there closer to Searcy, Arkansas. Not good up there. And so that storm, let's get an idea on that. Let me just take a minute, because that also would have been probably outside of the primary. See, it's right on a boundary. Let me get a look at these here for just a moment. So funnel cloud. Let's bring it in the latest here. Funnel cloud. Funnel cloud. Okay, so they had some funnel clouds, no official full-on tornado touchdowns with that stuff up there. Good. That's what we want to hear. I want to take a look, just again, to have an idea. You always want to know what the atmosphere is capable of, right? And so this shows that, yeah, as those were kind of popping up, some funnel clouds there, they're right on a boundary. See how they didn't really move? So sometimes storms popping up on boundary do weird things. So that's what they likely had up there. So makes me want to investigate these a little closer then as well, because these are kind of going up on little boundaries, and so it's not impossible. You could get, see, that goes right up on that outflow boundary. That's why it's kind of lit up there along 57 back toward Grand Junction. So heavy rainfall, a decent amount of lightning. Checking our True Shield hail swath. We don't have any significant hail out of that, and all those kind of expanding more toward the east. Let me put this back to a 1 hour loop. That'll be probably more effective to show that. Yeah, so a little bit of hail starting to come out of those potentially. Compare that to what we have farther south. You can clearly see from where our thunderstorm down here in Itala County, when it was at its strongest, the hail potential was a little greater on that. I'm going to switch down to our hail swath out of our radar site there in, this would be Monroe County. And that storm kind of northeast of Philadelphia, moving near Bogue Chitto there. That one is one of our heaviest. So let's check now out of, we're going to go for out of Jackson on this one. And so it's kind of aiming that there, again, right along 397. We'll look 3D on that as well while we're looking at this. Yeah, this one's pretty compact on where it's dropping, whatever it is it's dropping, which could include some large hail. So coming up at 6 o'clock, by the way, we'll have our Mississippi Live weather at 6, our typical broadcast for you, and kind of give you a one-over on what the everything looks like right now and what it could look like going forward. I see James with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers dropping in a shot of that hail from McCool, and this was not small hail by any stretch of the imagination. Let's go ahead and pull this up for you. This is what that hail in McCool looked like. I'm going to have to transition that there, and we'll change this over to this shot. So this is some of that hail in McCool. You can see in the hand there, that's a pretty large hailstone sent in just a little bit ago through our partners at the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. Even if that's not a small hand, that's still a large hailstone. Typically always helps us to have a coin right next to it so we can really truly gauge based off of a fixed size how large it is. But that one looks pretty rough. That's a fairly large hailstone there. That fell out of that a little bit ago. Appreciate everyone for watching with us again. What about Monroe County, Amory, Wren, Aberdeen? No issues for you. That's not to say something doesn't pop up later. We do expect we'll have some isolated storms later there, but I wanted to say that the overarching theme is whether it's Bruce or Amory or Water Valley, that this is not tornado weather today. This is hail if we see something out of it from Macon or really any of the other locations that we've been kind of tracking these. Might actually have a shot of this storm here as we bring it back over to the Macon area. This one is a little south of Macon. Might actually have a shot of that from our camera. We're looking through, I think, a decent amount of green, so I don't know that we're going to have a good look at this. But we have a camera with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers there in the Macon area. So kind of put something else back together here for us. So again, that would be looking all the way toward that storm, and I'm kind of in the way of the most interesting part of it. Appreciate, again, North Mississippi Storm Chasers for actually moving that camera for me there, but that's looking again toward kind of the ingest part of the thunderstorm, for lack of a better way to put it, where everything's going up and in that thunderstorm. And then all this kind of grayish sort of stuff you see there, that's some of the hail. These are corpuscular rays, where the rays of sunshine hitting the hole in the clouds there and kind of shining on through. So kind of a bunch of different pretty things at the same time that's probably producing some hail down south there as well. This camera provided by North Mississippi Storm Chasers. 81 right now there in Macon, as of the latest update, the dew point not as high as some other locations there. We've relied quite heavily on some other cameras today. I'm going to come to Kosciuszko. Unfortunately, our Kosciuszko camera, not one that we can pan, so we're kind of locked into a shot on this one here, so we don't have a good look there. Kosciuszko, the worst of that storm, kind of stayed east of you and continues to be a little east of you at this time as well. Used pretty extensively our camera there in Choctaw County and Ackerman. Just kind of looks gray as that closest thunderstorm there is largely kind of falling apart. It's looking southeast there. No good shot on that at the moment. But I'm going to switch that back around and look toward the north and west because got another storm kind of coming from that direction there. So give me a moment for this to kind of flip back around. And you can see, again, similar structure on some of these thunderstorms. I'll look back that direction as well. Again, this is where everything's kind of being ingested into the thunderstorm. And then kind of back in the background there is where some of the hail is. So these kind of moving right into the fuel, just kind of gobbling up fuel as they move south and east and into those at this time. Looks like some pretty hefty rainfall. Caleb's got their picture of behind the scenes. So whether it's producing large hail or in some cases really heavy rainfall, they've been productive, right?
Yeah, no, they've been very productive. This picture was actually sent in by Amy out there just west of the French Camp community. That continues to be a community we've been talking about a lot today within Atala County and even into Carroll and Montgomery, all those different counties we've been talking about, but showcasing her rain gauge and already receiving over an inch of rainfall. So just with how heavy these cells have been and how slow they move, if they just kind of form on top of you guys and kind of just sit there, they're just dumping that constant rainfall over your respective city and kind of street. So showcasing the amount of rainfall you can get as these cells kind of move over. And thankfully, that's about it that I have to report. I was also taking a look at those power outages. We have not seen any more pop up, which is definitely a good sign as we continue into the evening ahead as these storms continue moving on through. So looks like Matt popped up the chat. Wanted to make sure to keep you guys involved as we continue covering everything. Looks like everybody's still in good spirits for Mother's Day. Looks like Bentley wishing everybody a good afternoon. It's definitely been one, and thankfully not having to talk about too many severe thunderstorms or just kind of those more intense storms moving through North Mississippi. Only kind of covered that one that moved on through. But somebody was asking about Solent, Alabama. Not quite seeing that rainfall just yet. We've been looking at those models kind of throughout the weekend and kind of this morning and even into this afternoon and evening. And I know people were asking about Louisville, Starkville, kind of the Columbus region, and even into Alabama. Unfortunately, we get that rainfall a little bit later on into your evening overnight period. It just makes it to you guys last, which is definitely a good thing because that means it doesn't really have that daytime heating to act off of. So not going to be as hot and kind of feeding off that energy. But you guys should still get some rainfall later on tonight, but thankfully not seeing anything at this moment, Matt.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to go and re-rack things.
I have been going to Two Place Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Two Place Smiles.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Welcome in Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut. We are tracking some thunderstorms that will continue into the evening. We think if we're going to see something, large hail would be that most likely impact that you and I would end up running into. A couple strong wind gusts possible, but I want to say right out of the gate here, we are not talking about a tornado threat. I'm going to say not zero, but I'm going to say 0.25% likelihood. Again, it's not going to happen tonight out of these storms. They're too high based. They have produced, in some cases, hail not just to 1 inch in size, in some cases in excess of 1.5 inches in size. Some patchy strong wind gusts, so we haven't had a whole lot of reports of that out there. Our North Mississippi Storm Chaser has been kind of tracking things behind the scenes as well, but the overall headline, I think, into this evening is that most storms, for most of us, will not produce severe weather. It's mainly heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning, and then in some cases, that large hail, at least that we have seen to this point here And in all likelihood, that's the way this goes forward as well. We're 78 at 7 p.m., going 69 by 10, 65 by 1 o'clock in the morning. Again, rain and storm chances diminishing by early tomorrow. And much of the next week is going to be much more tranquil and much more dry. Looking at the latest here on Mama Justice Doppler radar on our overview, we have a frontal boundary that's kind of nudging into the area. Behind this, the air is less humid. That less humid air is something that we're going to use to bring in, again, lesser chances for rainfall. I think our frontal positioning is okay on where it's at. This one is not one where it's just a big wall and then we get an immediate drop, because now that we're transitioning to May, our fronts become weaker and weaker as we go into summer, and then summer eventually dominates, right? So this one is more of an initiation point for the storms. There's still storms both in front of and behind it. I want to emphasize this as clearly as I can. There is no tornado threat with what we're contending with today. Here's that tornado risk as we outline it by the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. As you can see, that showing up for locations back out there into Texas. That's where we do have a risk for tornadoes today. Our risk is going to be either wind, which is probably a little more prevalent than some of the other risks, or the possibility that we could see some large hails. We've talked extensively about using our True Shield roofing hail threat. There are some storms that have produced, in some cases, some hail up to golf ball size. So that's some big hail out there. Now, I think those storms have diminished somewhat, but we have additional storms that are going through development phase, and we expect more of those over the course of the next couple of hours here. So as you can see, looking at our future cast, most of us, again, some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Greatest likelihood still remains locations here from Memphis back to south and west of Amory and Columbus. This is our peak zone. There will be some thunderstorms farther east than that, some wind gusts possible, some hailstones possible, but the overarching theme over all of this is that no tornado threat. Still maybe some rumbles overnight, but no tornado threat. And as drier air moves in behind this, we have more tranquil weather that I think builds in looking into this upcoming work week. So rain coverage by tomorrow morning, limited. North winds keeping it, again, somewhat cooler feeling, more dry air moving in. 74, that's your peak temperature by tomorrow afternoon. Now, coming up in 60 seconds, we're using Mama Justice Doppler radar to go in depth on where these storms are and looking at your full work week forecast as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center in 60 seconds.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Imagine your child with no place to sleep. For many children, that is their reality tonight. When you buy a mattress at Room to Room, we give one to a child in need through Beds for Kids. Buy a bed, give a bed, change a life.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhawn.
Mix of clouds showing up from our camera in Starkville as we're using our North Mississippi Storm Chasers camera to look south toward Louisville. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lovhawn. What we're kind of concentrating on here are these hail-producing thunderstorms. We're looking kind of in the backside of one of those down in the Louisville area. All the gray you see, that's that heavy precipitation. That wider sort of color there, probably some of that hail trying to fall out of this. And probably the best way to look at this is, of course, using Mama Justice Doppler radar. Appreciate our North Mississippi Storm Chasers, our partners here with that camera network across North Mississippi. Center Ridge community, we're looking at 611 for you as this storm, kind of with whatever hail it's developing up there, continues to move toward the south and east. Our True Shield hail swath, and again, showing the hail a little stronger down to the south. This was slightly stronger up closer to McCool earlier on. It's gone through a bit of a regeneration phase. When it was back toward McCool, if you missed this during our last the broadcast right before I guess we started this up a couple of minutes ago, this is an example of what some of the hail looks like out of this. This was about inch and 3/4 size, close to golf ball size hail there near McCool that came out of this thunderstorm. So you can get some really big hailstones out of this, and you can share those hailstone pictures with us. If you have the largest hailstone picture sent in, you get a $100 gift card from True Shield Roofing. Got to be at least 1 inch in size. It would help if you had a coin next to it so we can verify that. But you can share those using the Mississippi Live Weather apps. For, as you can see, the smartphones as well as tablets. Those are the ones that where it's easiest to kind of share that information with us. And we'll go ahead and, again, pass that along to the National Weather Service. Try and make a bad day a little less bad, and appreciate the folks at True Shield Roofing for working with us on that there. Coming back here to our Mama Justice Doppler radar, and again, our True Shield hail threat on this. Go back 2D for a moment. So Louisville in particular, let's go, and I'm going to look at this about 5 different ways. Apologize, we're just going to pop up 5 or 6 different things. But you can see just southwest of town is where this is the heaviest, moving, again, along Highway 15, or at least going to cross Highway 15 within the next few minutes here as it moves toward the south and east there. So fairly large in size. Our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut with some pictures, again, coming in from the North Mississippi storm chasers there of this storm. Caleb, pretty good lightning strike there, right?
Yeah, no, I'm actually covering up most of it right here. I can stand over. This was sent in into our North Mississippi Storm Chasers group chat by Timothy Kern as he's out there kind of chasing these storms, keeping an eye on them, giving us some measurements on that. So I just pulled up this picture. I'm asking him where this strike occurred, which he actually just sent a picture, I think, of his location kind of going into one. So maybe just outside of Louisville. At least he sent that just a few minutes ago. So definitely a very impressive lightning strike out there. Still seeing that color and kind of just all the little strands making their way down. You can kind of see a faint one there, all the different kind of connecting step leaders working their way down. Just showcasing kind of some of the energy with the storm, because that's been a thing that me and Matt have been talking about a lot. Those lightning strikes, they can kind of indicate that health of a thunderstorm, but also can cause some of those power outages, which I was covering earlier, which I'm still continuing to keep my eyes on that behind the scenes. Thankfully, not seeing an uptick. Unfortunately, not really seeing a decrease yet, but I know those guys are going to get out there as quick as they can to restore that power for you guys. Thankfully, not really seeing those power outages continue to climb. So very impressive shot of that lightning and kind of the power these thunderstorms can have out there, Matt, as they continue moving through North Mississippi this evening.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. That's a meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut. Another storm that's kind of, these are borderline severe, not severe thunderstorms in the true sense of, in order to be a severe thunderstorm, it has to have at least 1 inch hail or wind gusts up to 58 miles per hour or greater. We're looking into the hail on a storm that's south of Macon here in the Room to Room Weather Center. We're looking from Macon south there toward the south and west. And this one, I think, is close to producing. I mean, it's just right on the edge. It probably has some hail. I just don't know that it's quite the true severe hail. Let's come back on Mama Justice Doppler. We're looking near Scripps Mills and Bloomfield there in locations there north and west of DeKalb. Moving toward, again, along 397, where probably the largest hail on this is moving toward DeKalb. Will be about 624 for you. Carter's at 635 there. Townsend about 637. Akron 641. Oak Grove at 642. Using our True Shield hail swath on this to see where it's produced. It does have that going maybe a little bit farther east than where I have my track here. So let's go ahead and adjust the track just a little bit. So give me a moment to pull that, get that one selected there, and I think we'll adjust that one up slightly. There we go. I think our times stay pretty much the same, but I think that's probably a better shot on the track related to that. And if we go look 3D on this and kind of cut it down to its most intense, whatever that is, we do show some of that larger hail aloft with that one, probably more so than the Louisville storm. We show this from time to time. Maybe we don't always define what we're looking at here. If you look back up here toward Louisville, there's just this little blob of pink. And then this one has a bigger blob of pink and kind of blackish, purplish sort of color there. In both cases, that is hail. It's probably up to around 3/4 of an inch in size, maybe a little bit larger than that. So that's our large hail that hasn't fallen out of that. But near Linville, it's trying. And I wouldn't be traveling along 397 until that kind of clears the area there. That could continue to be a little rough for a while longer. Outside of that, most of the storms, you don't really see nearly the intensity on any of them. I'm going to we'll clear off those tracks there. We're going to switch it over to our radar site out of Memphis. Go check on the storms in the far northern part of the state. So these storms are all of a sudden going to look like nothing because we're looking from so far away, and these will look a little stronger up north. But we don't have nearly as many purples and that sort of stuff. Our hail swath, not as impressive on this. Looking at the peak threats. All of this, when we kind of look at this graphic, we show where the purple is, maybe some hail out of this, not impossible. And most of this does not have a ton of movement to it. It's largely just kind of popping up and staying exactly where it is. And so that leaves the majority of North Mississippi and the majority of our viewers that watch us here on Mississippi Live kind of in this zone between, where there's frankly just not a ton going on. And so that's a good sign. And that means that, again, most of these are going to remain below severe limits. I'll leave it on the kind of latest scan. Again, not impossible to get that storm there southwest of Macon, northwest of DeKalb to become severe, but that would be kind of the exception versus everything else. Our school bus forecast, school day forecast for tomorrow has drop-off temperature coming in around 60 degrees. We're looking at 68 by lunch, 74 by the final bell, under what should be, again, a mix of sun and clouds. So Futurecast continues to have these showers and thunderstorms out there next few hours. Not perfect on the positioning where we have everything, but a decent job depicting additional thunderstorms. But look at this for New Albany, for Tupelo, for Amory here. Notice how we just don't have really the darker reds move toward your directions. Well, just at the very end there, that does try to clip Amory. So again, not impossible to get some hailstones. That's why when we look at that severe risk area, for you, you're kind of on the edge of that. I'll go back and show that severe risk area, and then we'll reboot our Futurecast here for a moment again. So our severe risk area does involve, I mean, you're in it in Amory, just not in it like some other spots are. Tupelo, for example. And the greens here, that's a limited number of reports. Not expecting to have a lot of reports of severe weather for folks that are in this, but not impossible. Maybe see something there. No tornado risk tonight. Let's be clear on that. No tornado risk on this Mother's Day evening. Damaging wind a possibility, perhaps, and large hail a possibility, perhaps as well. And that's been the most likely thing we've seen here. Our True Shield roofing large hail risk has been useful today as well. But again, looking back on Mama Justice Doppler and comparing where things are, fairly close alignment here to where we have it on Futurecast, though it has less of these being quite as intense as they are up north. But I mean, it's pretty close on where it depicts most things. So over the next few hours, again, these kind of moving east, southeast, still heavy close to Grenada. And again, this batch we were looking at a moment ago there, that still is fairly heavy through Amory as it goes into Alabama. This is not an evening where you need to stay up and worry with us overnight. Again, no tornado threat. I can't emphasize that enough, but especially as long as you are a person who has kind of built up that armor. And when we say that, we mean we want to make sure we have multiple sources that we can rely on in a severe weather event if something were weird to happen and we need to be up and shelter in the whole 9 yards. We're not thinking that that is going to be an issue for tonight, but we do think that always you should probably have multiple of these different options down here. Weather Call, Mississippi Live Weather app, which you can get with those QR codes there, Code Red, or National Weather Service Weather Radio. If you have multiple of those, you will be in good shape. And I always talk about Weather Call because it's what I have for my family. It's what I mean, obviously we all have the app. Leo was one of the first ones to download the Mississippi Live Weather app. And so that is, again, a layer that works with us. But I think Weather Call, it's a phone call, it's a disruptor, and I think it has value because of that as well. So download that to stay ahead of any issues that we might have there. As we bring it back here and continue looking forward on Futurecast overnight, maybe some rumbles still, 4:35, 6 o'clock in the morning. Not a lot of those. If there ain't issues, Maggie will be tracking that starting at 6:30 a.m. on Mississippi Live Weather this morning, 6:30, 7, and 7:30 a.m. She's live tomorrow morning with any updates on where those rain chances are. Temperatures, we're down into the low 60s and begin your Monday morning and upper 50s. And this is some drier air moving in. It's where we should be for this time of year. You can see that normal coming in 60 degrees, so it's spot on what we would typically expect. And mainly dry for your Monday. We don't go completely dry, but notice the arrows coming more out of the north and east. That's that drier air. That's what's pushing any meaningful low-level instability and fuel down south of us. So a couple of sprinkles possible through the day tomorrow. But again, any heavier thunderstorms are going to be down in the southern part of the state. You can see down there closer to New Orleans, down in the Gulf of Mexico, really, where they're strongest, again, down in South Mississippi. So high temperatures on your Monday expected to be in the mid 70s. It'll be less humid than it was today, so we're probably not talking about as much again, the stickiness factor. 75 in Tunica, Clarksdale. Normal for this time of year, 81 degrees. We're going to be back in the 80s. Don't you worry. That dry air helps us to warm up as we go throughout the week as well. So partly cloudy skies going through around 9 p.m., 10 p.m. on your Monday evening and Monday night. All the rain chances south. And so with some drier air moving in, we'll get a little bit cooler by early morning Tuesday because of that, especially because we removed this veil of cloud cover just in time for the first part of the day. Low temperatures, not impossible to have a 40 out there, but we're going 50 at our coolest spot up there in Corinth, 51 degrees in New Albany, 55 Greenwood, 57 Belzona, 51 for Hamilton, Alabama, and a 54 for Starkville and Columbus. So Futurecast, keeping it mainly dry. High pressure still the story here, right overhead as we go into your Tuesday, midday. Another front back to the north and west that probably doesn't completely pass through here as any rain chances are going to be directed way to the north on this. Got to go kind of on the wide shot here to show that the overall jet stream is going to be way up here. And so that means that we are kind of in a zone where we're not going to see really much in the way of any sort of precipitation for the better part of the week. This shows some partly cloudy skies and maybe a rogue sprinkle south of Birmingham, but that's as close as moisture gets to us. So high temperatures on Tuesday, we're lower 80s. It's really pretty pleasant, all things considered. I mean, obviously 80s are warm, don't get me wrong, but it's not as humid as it was today or this weekend or last week. So that kind of helps us out there as well. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. Again, early Monday, that's our rain chance. After that, it is drier, cooler for Tuesday morning, some upper 40s out there, low 80s by Tuesday afternoon. We're mid 80s by Wednesday, low 80s again for Thursday. I don't have any meaningful rainfall chances through the bulk of that 7-day forecast. And as you'll note, by next weekend, we could be pushing near the 90-degree point. Hey, Penny, that would be acceptable to go into and try to do a little bit of swimming if it's 90. The kids tried going swimming yesterday in 70-something and claimed they enjoyed it, and I think they're insane. But anyway, that's a different discussion. More Mama Justice Doppler radar, checking in on your reports and looking at this overall pattern shift as Mississippi Live Weather continues here in 60 seconds.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
We can see the low end. We're going to have a good shot at that as it approaches the Ryanzi area. Tornado warning now issued. We'll do a push alert behind the scenes for folks here up here in Alcorn County. Rotation on this thunderstorm increasing to the point back into Tippah County as well, where the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for your locations. Welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut behind the scenes. Again, looking at your reports, those from North Mississippi Storm Chasers. Not a lot coming in, thankfully. I'll bring up our chat here where you guys can, join in the conversation there. I appreciate everybody for watching us. New Albany, Wisconsin, apparently. Bruce, Amory, Macon, Solent, Boonville. Let's again talk here on the wide shot and then come right back in. On the wide shot there, Boonville. Hey, yeah, there are some thunderstorms back to the north and west, and these could move in later on tonight. Heavy rainfall, maybe some hail, maybe some lightning. Northern part of the area, that's what we're looking at with this. There is no tornado threat tonight, just to be completely clear on what we could be up against. And one of our heaviest thunderstorms is this one that I was in right at the beginning here, down toward around Louisville near Estes and Center Ridge. I think that's right near Lake Tiacata there. And double check. Yeah. Pretty close there. And so this is heavy rainfall and maybe some hail out of this, but that's pretty much it. And I honestly don't even know that we really have much in the way of hail. I'll use our True Shield hail swath to kind of check and see where the hail has been. It's clipped out a little bit behind it, but that biggest hail, we're now about an hour in the past up here closer to McCool on that storm. So again, going through a bit of a downswing there. Just like our thunderstorm there near Linville is as well. So it's going to track both of these storms I'm going to track the Estes one first and then the Linville one second, and then we're going to check and see what Caleb's got on power outages and everything else that you've been sending in here in a moment. Give him 23 miles per hour show Vernon there, Vernon, Mississippi at 6:39. Fern Springs at 6:49 Handle, Golston about 7:10, 7:17 Scripps Mills, and Fairhill at 7:19. That's a few hailstones. That's a lot of heavy rainfall, but that's probably not severe thunderstorm criteria. And then this one that's kind of flirted with it from time to time here in DeKalb, we're looking at that for you at 6:42. Tracking that toward Carter's at 6:56, Townsend 6:59, Akron at 7:04, Electric Mills 7:12, and Porterville there at 7:18. Again, Doppler radar indicated hail maybe. I mean, we're at maybe possible on this. I just don't know that we're probably at hail. There might be a little rotation on it, but this is not going to be anything like could try to produce a tornado. We'll check our shot there from Macon. Looking down into this, we had a pretty good look at that a minute ago from Macon, which is, of course, top of your screen there up in Noxubee County, looking on the wide shot there. And you can see how much it's moved just in the last couple minutes on me. So we'll pan this camera back to the left. Appreciate North Mississippi Storm Chasers, our partners on this camera network. The gray that you see there is the precipitation kind of on the north side. And then we're getting the darker, so that would be if it had any hail. I think luckily we're still if category. And that does not look as or as it did a minute ago. You could kind of see with the thunderstorm, not showing that as well as of the latest scans there. So I'm certainly not showing as well on that camera shot either. So some good signs there. Our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut has been kind of tracking the power outages that you have been looking at here. And Caleb, based on what you were seeing as of 6:22, how are things looking?
Well, things are looking good, Matt. I mean, coming back to talk about these power outages, we're basically talking about the same power outages I came here with the last update, which is a good thing because that means we're not talking about any more that are occurring. We can still clearly tell where those stronger storms already moved on through our area. We were talking about the severe thunderstorm warnings, that hail that continued to drop, those higher wind gusts. Well, those were responsible for our power outages here. You can see the 3 counties primarily affected that we've been talking about a lot throughout this update and throughout the 6 o'clock show. But for those out there in Carroll County, still around 161. I'm pretty sure that was the exact same count we had earlier. And then we're back towards Montgomery, still around 70, and then Atala around 250. So these are all related to Entergy, which I pull up this. That way y'all can kind of see that. You can see these dash lines showcasing the different counties. So you can see Atala County down here, kind of where those southern power outages are. Out here in Carroll County, starting to expand closer towards Baden, still seeing some out there. And even into, still zoomed in, let's see, Choctaw's over there, into Montgomery County. There we go. And so you can kind of see all the different shapes, but I mean, thankfully these power outages are not continuing to spread. So definitely a good sign as these storms kind of move out of that area.
Go closer to McCool there, which is in the far right-hand part of the screen there.
Yep.
South of French Camp. That's where we had some of that big hail, so it does look like it probably came with a little bit of strong wind, knocked down maybe a few power poles that direction there. You can kind of see where they put I'm assuming where they put the little pink icons there is where the break is, and then everybody up line from that has some issues.
Yep. No, you can definitely see where those streets kind of got affected. I think the pink ones are 1 to 50 customers. So anyone along that street definitely out of power at this moment outside the McCool region.
Okay, appreciate that. That's our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, in our downtown Tupelo studios. Appreciate him. Again, hard work at tracking these storms as we've gone throughout the day. Current time is 6:24. Let's give you kind of an overview on the storms, and we're going to look beyond at what's possible. One of the ways to do that most easily is using our peak threats. We don't show this all the time, but I think maybe we probably show it less often than we should. Looking at our 3 kind of storms here, there's more 2 storms that are the strongest. I show some light purples to maybe medium purples on here. Purple means large hail would be the peak impact. The idea on this is this will show you for any specific spot. Fairhill, it says light rainfall is the most significant thing you'll see. Louisville, it says that on really Midtown up north, but it gives you what is the kind of worst case scenario. And so the worst case scenario in that storm south of Louisville would be up to inch and a half size hail. Same with that one over 397 near Linville. Now, I'll be honest, I think it's highly unlikely we're seeing that, but that's kind of your worst case scenario. The reality is it's probably more like some hail and then the wind gusts probably 35, 45 miles per hour, and then really, really heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning. And so that could still be disruptive. I do see that storm near Ethel does look a little bit stronger in the last couple minutes, but I think all of these remain below severe limits. So we'll get you storm tracks on all three of these. The storm near Ethel toward the southeast, they've been moving about 20 to 25 miles per hour. Giving you that to Providence, we're looking at 640. East Macedonia at 652, Val at 701, 702 Hines, Liberty at 719, and 720 for Plattsburgh. So we clear all those off. We'll track the storm there south of Louisville. Again, that'll probably track along 397, so we're going 21 miles per hour. Vernon, Mississippi at 646, 656 there at Handle Community, the Handle Community, Ferns Springs at 657, and Golston at Golson, I should say, at 719. I think I've said Golston forever. I apologize for folks that live near there. And then our other storm here that's south of, I say Scripps Mill every time as well. Sipes Mill? Siples Mill? Ooh, I might actually have to, I apologize. I'm now a little more self-aware than I probably should be. Apparently I'm pronouncing some of these wrong. I apologize for that. DeKalb, we're looking at that for you at 650, Carter's 704, Townsend 706, Akron 711, Electric Mills 719, and Porterville at 723. Outside of those three storms, as we go back wide, you will notice that there's really nothing else there that kind of catches our attention. So we're not going to keep this broadcast going all night long just for run-of-the-mill thunderstorms, but let's give you kind of an overview at what happens from here going forward using something we call the crossover. It's an exclusive to us here on Mississippi Live. It looks for the crossover of three important things: upper level winds, what we usually call the jet stream; lower level winds, what we sometimes call the low level jet; and fuel. Where all three of these things cross over, we have the potential for severe weather, and especially high-end severe weather. So this is the crossover, something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live. And so looking at this, our pattern goes a lot more northwest flow. We don't have any of the lower level winds, and it shoves all the moisture on out of here. So as we go through Tuesday and Wednesday, the overall pattern is not one that's going to be really developmental. In fact, on kind of the wide shot here, we've got a lot going on, but what I want to highlight is, I think I use red to show this because red doesn't show up on this graphic, is how you kind of have this omega sort of shape there, this sort of hill shape. We call this an omega block. And so a blocking pattern like this moves very, very slowly day to day. And so it's not until maybe Wednesday that we start to see anything that even kind of starts to shift a little bit. And I'll say this is a little more progressive than it was on Friday. So I should be clear on that. And this does have a little bit of fuel showing up on here in the European. So that means we might not be exactly zero on our rain chances there, but we're pretty limited. Certainly weather for locations back on the plains where we have a lot more fuel a lot farther north. This looks a lot like a shift toward, again, a more stormy pattern for them. While we do have some instability in fuel back as we go toward Friday, the upper level winds are not at all where they should be. I would say, Kyle, look at this. I'm interested in what European precipitation here in a minute. Talk through whether or not that in there were rain chances there than what this is, because that's a lot of fuel out there for zeros on the rain chances. So we'll kind of pull that up here in a second. Some of the other parts of the pattern aren't exactly right, but when we have this time of year a decent amount of fuel sitting around, sometimes we have some chances. We have that in the next week, but what I don't have on any of these days is I don't have the jet stream down here in a really meaningful way where we're looking at tornadoes and stuff like that. So the pattern could have some storms from time to time. I mean, I'm looking all the way, as you note there at the top, to basically the end of the month. And there are some storm chances there, but what I don't see are a lot of super organized, severe weather sort of chances. So this pattern goes summer-like in a big way, in a big hurry for a number of days. So I'll come back to today, and if you give me a second, I'm going to bring Caleb in here in a moment. We'll kind of talk through this. Now, Caleb knows I'm an apologist for the European model. So let's kind of talk through here, and let's see if I put some pause points in here when I built it. I did not. I need to do that.
I will say
Anyway,
one of the things, I'm glad you pointed out Tuesday, one of the things in the National Weather Service discussion, they were mentioning that shortwave kind of frontal boundary that will move through Tuesday night. But they were saying because of how dry we are at the surface and for how long, they're just really not that confident on it making it the precipitation all the way to the surface. So rain chances are still very limited for your Tuesday. But I mean, if there were a day throughout the week where we could see maybe a few sprinkles overnight, again, not meaningful. I mean, there is a possibility, but again, just kind of very limited throughout your Tuesday night.
And this shows Wednesday, some chances overhead too. You know, on here, what I depict when I show rainfall is I'm showing rainfall rate. And so even where it has the rainfall rate showing up, it's pretty light variety stuff. That's probably not thunderstorms there. Looking toward Friday, you know, you have another front that kind of comes toward us. This doesn't have it necessarily building overhead, with maybe some spotty stuff about a week from now. And then you go beyond that and the chances get a lot more. Well, it's that whole butterfly effect by that point in time. This time of year, it gets very difficult to kind of nail things out. But week after next, a little more fuel around, a little more thunderstorm chances there, a possibility. So, yeah, pretty dry for the next week, that's for sure. Not completely zero, but pretty dry.
Oh, yeah, very dry and starting to warm back up as well. So that summertime kind of weather pattern, we're finally getting back towards a calmer, much-needed weather pattern here in North Mississippi.
Absolutely. Our meteorologist, Caleb Bettelblut, again, continuing to...
I don't think he meant to bring it back to me. I think he's coming back. I'm pretty sure he's about to come back, but if not, there we go.
I hit the wrong chat button. I hit your chat button, not my chat button. Which
no, you're
fine.
good.
Yeah, you did a great job out there. Okay, we'll go back over, and then I think we'll probably wrap things up here in a minute. Again, appreciate y'all from watching us in the Flatwoods there, Burnsville, Boonesville, Soligent, all of you in Macon there as well. And appreciate all of our sponsors like Lee's Storm Shelters there for Storm Shelter list on our website there. We appreciate them for and those jewelers who've been a big proponent of what we're so many other folks out there as well. As we look here on Mama Justice Doppler radar, again, one of the groups, Mama Justice, helping us to track these storms kind of moving from northwest to southeast. So from some of those spots we're talking about, such as, you know, Iuka and Burnsville and Fulton and Boonville and Corinth and say Saltillo and Tupelo, the heaviest of this is to the south. We will have some thunderstorms that come in tonight. It's not impossible these could have some hailstones with them. I am hesitant to put a track on these because these all could just very easily fall apart before then. I mean, look, for example, I want to point out, this is a 1 hour loop up here in northern Benton County. Look how that storm basically doesn't move over the last hour. So if I put a storm track on this, these decent chance these just don't move. I think they probably kick out additional storms ahead, but there's just not a ton of movement on this. These are very slow. So I'm going to track that back there. I'm going to say, oh, I'm overdoing it at 18 miles an hour. But I want to give you a rough earliest possible time. Does that sound? Don't hold me to this times. Shouldn't put these on here. I would have argued at the television station with the consultant on whether or not we put a track on something like this because it's highly unlikely to be accurate. But yeah, here we go. So this shows, you know, if nothing else changes with this, and these don't pick up any speed, it could be as late as maybe even 9 p.m. before it gets there, 9:30 or so before it gets to Boonville and Iuka and Burnsville about 9:15. So we still have some time there, about 8:20 there for folks up in the Corinth area. This could pick up a little bit of speed, and those could go a little faster for you. So trying to answer that question, not impossible, but no tornadoes out there for those locations or anybody else as far as that's concerned. Our heaviest storms have been down here. I'll give you like one more over on these for our Max South viewers in particular down here at Decatur to Newton. Checking our discussion with the National Weather Service. Again, those hail reports from earlier, the most recent thing that they have been talking about and watching. Looking at our True Shield hail threat from up in Monroe County, a little too high up there on some of these down south. We'll change it down to the one out of Jackson. Maybe a little bit of hail starting to fall out of these. They've gotten going in the last little bit here. Not a ton at this moment. Oops, and I hit the wrong button. Let's bring it back in. Apologize for that. Let's come back in. I was meaning to change my radar site. My component of what was shown there. And so again, coming south here. Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit of hail out of that batch there. Those are moving more east as opposed to southeast like some. In fact, they're splitting storms, which is always interesting. I'm going to track that about 17 miles per hour, give you some times there if that kind of holds that way, even though this back one there is kind of splitting northward. All right, that one could make its way again south there of Philadelphia. So watch that for y'all there in Leake County. And then our DeKalb storm again weakening. So I think probably best way to look at this is using the peak threats. And it does look as though that's probably, again, some spotty. Our next live broadcast will be coming up here. If nothing changes at 9 p.m., if we have severe thunderstorm warnings, Caleb will be back here. We'll be tracking things in the Room to Room Weather Center related to that. But 9 o'clock, he'll be looking through your work week forecast, an updated look at some of those rain chances by the middle part of the week. And we appreciate, everybody for sending in those pictures. If you do have large hail pictures to share with us, best way to do that is using the Mississippi Live Weather app, free and available for all of those various different devices. You can send in those pictures, and we certainly appreciate that. We will see you guys, though, coming up as we're going to shut down this live stream here. We're going to see you guys coming up at 9 and 10 o'clock. Y'all have a good one.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just